Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We just hit 100 subscribers, for which I'm incredibly grateful, and sort of to just celebrate that, I decided to make a 100 subscribers Q&A video. To do so, I asked you guys on my Instagram account, what questions would you like to have answered on this video? I received about 6 responses in total with, I think, 9 questions, so without further ado, let's move on to the first one. The first question comes from Esad, who asks, what is your favorite animal? Now, I'm not gonna lie guys, this was the hardest question that I received. And I think the reason is because I was just expecting a lot of Lego related questions, which of course I did receive, but this was one that just threw me off my guard. I do not think about this a lot, and when I do, I can never really come to a conclusion. Until recently, I think I had a tie between a hedgehog, a pig, and a ferret. But if I had to choose out of the 3 of those right now, I think I'd have to choose a ferret. You know, they're just such quick, small, agile, and sometimes ferocious animals. You know, it's like the ultimate creature. Like you can't beat a ferret. I think that coming in a close second is gonna be a hedgehog. I don't know why. Maybe it's because my nickname or my name, however you want to look at it, is Hedjo, and I guess Hedjo sounds sort of like hedgehog. I don't know, but I get a lot of hedgehog stuff for Christmas and my birthday, so that's definitely a close second. The next 3 questions are from the Brick Fanatic, who asks, what is your next mock going to be? What are your top 3 favorite LEGO themes? And what is a movie or TV show you would like to be made into a LEGO theme? Unfortunately, I cannot tell you guys what my next mock is going to be because it is for a collab that is being kept secret at the moment. I actually had to move it off of my desk so that you guys wouldn't be able to see it during this video. So it is currently behind the camera on the floor. But what can I say about it without giving it away? It is definitely going to be my largest mock. Perhaps not my most detailed, or maybe not the one I'm most pleased with, but definitely my most impressive, largest mock by far. The next question was, what are your top 3 LEGO themes? And I kind of answered this one in the video where I talked about the 90th anniversary fan vote. So it's going to be in the correct order from best to worst: Bionicle, Adventures, and Alpha Team. Alpha Team and Adventures mainly due to the fact that I'm just a huge fan of the original LEGO themes that were created in the early 2000s and the late 90s. Plus, Adventures has always been one of my favorite themes, and up until recently, or up until about 2 years ago, it was in fact simply my favorite theme. I actually made some stop motion animations from it, but don't go looking for those because they are completely terrible. But that I think just goes to show how much I really enjoyed that theme. Bionicle is by far my favorite LEGO theme, not because it's my favorite to build in, that would be probably Star Wars and Castle or Fantasy Medieval, but simply because it has such just a dense and detailed lore that it's just impossible not to like. If you really learn about it and you really try to get into it, then it's impossible to get out. I purchased one comic just for the novelty of it because I knew it was a very important part of the LEGO community, and it's the thing that saved LEGO, right? It's just an important part of LEGO's history. And there's a whole entire fan community that just loves Bionicle and not necessarily the rest of LEGO. So it's just a big part of LEGO's history. And I bought one comic for the novelty of it, and I read it, I really liked it, I bought another one, and that kept going on and on, kept buying in larger quantities, which resulted in me, in the end, owning every single Bionicle comic in existence. Unfortunately, some of them don't have sleeves because I had to buy them off of eBay or Mercari, just second-hand sellers, whereas these are in not mint condition, but in very, very good condition, almost never been used or never been used. And then some of them I also keep in the binder over here. The first comic that I ever purchased is also the first comic that was ever created. So there's the first original Bionicle comic right there, along with all the next ones. All the Ignition comics are also in here. You guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah, so I love Bionicle. I love its lore, especially. I don't like building with it, but I do love its story. So if you guys ever want to learn about Bionicle and its history, come over to my house and I'll give you all of this to read up on. The third and final question from the Brick Fanatic was, is there any movie or TV show that I would like to see turn into an official LEGO theme? As far as movies go, not really, because unless it's a series of movies like Harry Potter or Jurassic World or Star Wars, then it's really hard for LEGO to make a theme. And also, a lot of times there's just not a lot of things that stand out enough to actually turn to sets. But I think that some really cool sets, maybe one, 2, or 3, could be made from Interstellar. Maybe the farmhouse in the beginning of the movie, and then the spaceship and the jump ship, or the base that they use on some of the planets. So Interstellar, I think, could make some amazing sets. Although I don't see that happening unless there's on LEGO Ideas, because Lego's not going to go to all that trouble to get the copyright permission to create this sets based off of that movie just to make like 3 sets for mainly the older audience, adult audience. When it comes to television shows, however, I think that the X-Files or Star Trek would make for some excellent sets, especially the X-Files. Star Trek, I don't think there's a chance that's going to happen because I'm pretty sure Mega Bloks owns the rights to Star Trek, owns the rights to make Star Trek building block sets, so I don't think there's much hope for Star Trek. But the X-Files, I think, would make some amazing sets. I'm not sure exactly what you could make off of that television series that really stands out. So I think that, for example, Mulder's office would be a great idea for a Lego set. But besides that, I can't really think of anything. But still, I would love to see some cool aliens or just some awesome minifigures and new pieces and molds that could come from that line of sets. Plus, The X-Files is just one of my favorite television series. I started watching it like 6-7 months ago, and I'm completely hooked. Like, it is fantastic. I highly recommend it. Alright, next question comes from Lego Modular Fan, who asks, "Congrats, what challenges do you face being an underground rapper and singer?" When you're as popular as I am in the musical world at such a young age, you're a rather vulnerable individual. A lot of time people are jealous of your skills, and because of that, nobody really wants to be your friend. Fan? Sure, why not? But a real friend? No, nobody wants to have that responsibility. And you know, sometimes people will use your loneliness to their advantage. You have so much money and fame that you really just don't know what to do with, that oftentimes you'll find yourself getting drawn into something you really would never do. Well, I guess one wouldn't hurt. While I'm here on public television, I would like to tell everyone not to take woozy bricks. I am on public television, right? Alright, the next 2 questions are likewise from Lego Modular Fan, who asks, what would be your top favorite colors and pieces? My top 5 favorite pieces in no particular order is the headlight brick, 8L or length, I don't know what the L stands for, flex tube, 1x2 tile, cheese slope, and a whip. I chose the headlight brick as one of my top 5 pieces because it's just one of the most useful pieces I ever come across. Like, not a single build goes by where I don't use it. Whether it's Star Wars, medieval, cyberpunk, no matter what I'm building, I almost always use a headlight brick. And I think that's mainly due to the fact that it's just an incredibly useful piece, one of the most useful pieces that I think has ever been created. Due to the little indention in it, you can create amazing offsets. It's got space to put a bar in, so you can really squeeze it in anywhere, and as I said, not a build goes by where I don't use it. Next up, although I'm not really going in order from best to worst, we've got the 8L flex tube, and I think that in this case it's pretty similar to the headlight brick, meaning that it is another piece that I use in almost every single build, although most of the time you can't see it, so it's usually just like, either it's a very hidden detail in like a Star Wars mock, or if I'm building trees or some complex medieval structure of some sort, then I'll use it sort of as a supporting piece that's keeping the whole thing together, although usually you don't see it on the outside. Next piece would be the 1x2 tile. I know that it's a really basic piece, and so most people won't choose it, but that's one of the main reasons why I actually choosing it as one of my top 5 pieces. I feel that it's really underrated. People just really don't pay attention to the fact how often they use it. You know, some of the ways that people use it, they just seem like it's so basic, so simple to them, they don't even realize that this is actually a technique that, if you didn't have this piece, would be impossible to do. So I think that it's just a really underrated piece, and one that I use in one that I use in every single mock in a number of ways, so it's definitely making my top 5. Next up, we've got the cheese slope, which, similar to the previous 3 pieces, is also one that I use quite a lot in builds, usually in terrain, or if 2 stack on top of each other, then I use it to fill certain gaps in platforms. I also used it to fill in a part of the paper section in my a Flourish of Imagination MOC. So it's also just a piece I use quite a lot and is very useful and looks great on, especially on natural creations such as trees or terrain. Last but not least, we've got the whip, specifically the Indiana Jones curled whip, which I use in reddish brown and black in Star Wars and like cyberpunk MOCs for wiring or cables, stuff like that, and then in medieval or fantasy MOCs usually as roots or parts of bushes. My top 5 favorite colors are medium nougat, dark orange, olive green, teal, and light bluish gray. When it comes to dark orange, medium nougat, and olive green, they simply make for some amazing terrain colors, so they easily made the top list for me. The next color on this list is teal. Even though I've actually never really used it in a MOC, or at least not in a significant way, but I think it's just an excellent way to add a flashy part to your MOC, especially if it's a cyberpunk creation or a Coruscant underground, stuff like that, where you're presenting large urban areas. Then it's a very interesting and flashy color that can add a lot of interest to a MOC. Last but not least, we've got light bluish gray, and again, this is just because it's a color that, similar to the other pieces that I mentioned, is one that I use in every single MOC practically. You know, it's great for any sort of theme. Castle, fantasy, cyberpunk, Star Wars, whatever you choose, usually you can put in light bluish gray, so I don't know where I'd be without it, so this has to make my top 5, even though it perhaps isn't one of the most interesting colors out there. The next question comes from Urban Bricks, who asks, what is your favorite LEGO technique and piece? When it comes to favorite piece, I kind of answered that in the last question, so it's really just going to be a tie between those 5 pieces I mentioned earlier. However, when it comes to LEGO techniques, I really just can't choose. There are so many fantastic techniques and tricks out there that it's impossible to just choose one. You know, there are a lot of ones that I've never tried out before, or ones that I use so often that I don't really consider them techniques anymore, more just things that I put into every build. You know, it's not really a technique, more of a standing thing that I have to include into a build, so it's really just impossible for me to answer that question. Sorry, Urban Bricks. The next question comes from Dan the Fan, who asks, who's the coolest Texan? Well, you're looking at him. No, but seriously, I mean, I'm a pretty great guy, you know, I build fantastic MOCs, I'm really creative, I'm smart, I'm strong, I'm pretty humble too, so those all make for a great person. And I also make my Q&A videos like 3 days after I get all the answers, or 2 days even. In contrast to some people who do them like 2 months later, then that really makes any sense. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that some people do that, but yeah, I'm really punctual, so definitely me. Alright guys, that about wraps it up for this video. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end. A technique breakdown for a Flourish of Imagination is currently in the making, so that should be out within like the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. And what can I say, if you guys enjoyed this video and want me to see more of these type of Q&A videos, then be sure to let me know in the comments, and be sure to also leave me a question for next time. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end, and happy doodling, guys.